Good evening. Welcome to our 27th school board meeting. We would please rise for the pledge of allegiance, moment of silence, remembering the school shooting in Tennessee this morning and the explosion in Reading past weekend. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, roll call, please.
Absolutely. Mrs. Walker.
Here.
Mrs. Beachy.
Here.
Here.
Ian. Dr. Frick. Here. Mr. Garrett. Here. Mr. Linder. Here. Mr. Sensenig.
Here.
Mr. Claire.
Here.
8 members present.
Thank you. We want to remind on the announcements and sessions that tonight's March 27th school board meeting is open to the public and is also being streamed virtually. We did hold an executive session on March 27th to discuss personnel matters. I need to have an approval for tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. I'd also need an approval for the February 27th school board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So moved. All right. Now the fun part, learners of the month. Dr.
Yeah,
Axe.
thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. Our first learner of the month from Barron Elementary School. The learner is Beverly Pottiger, grade 3, presented by Ms. Ryan.
All right, well, hello, I am Miss Ryan, a proud teacher of Miss Beverly Pottiger. And on behalf of the 3rd grade elementary team at Barron Elementary, I am proud to present her as our learner of the month. Beverly is a passionate, motivated, and inquisitive learner that exceeds all the necessary qualities of a difference maker. Her work ethic and desire to learn each day is admirable. She is the type of learner that is a problem solver, continuously seeking to be challenged, incorporating her creativity in every task she conquers, and striving to go beyond expectations, setting the bar high for the class. Not only that, but Beverly comes to school each day with a positive mindset, excited to see what the new day brings. With these qualities in mind, Beverly also demonstrates her exceptional leadership characteristics, providing her to be a role model for her classmates. I can always count on Beverly to encourage those around her and to help them when they are struggling. She likes to be a part of the learning process of her fellow peers, guiding them to understand new concepts. For example, anyone who knows Beverly understands that she has an undeniable special talent and passion for writing. She has created numerous stories ranging from educational content to life lessons to fictional plots. She lets her true creativity spark her writing, riveting entertainment for those lucky enough to read her works. Her talents in writing came in handy when we started a new unit making our weather books. She was one of the very first learners to help her classmates with the books when they were struggling. She not only emulates the difference maker qualities in academics, but also in her relationships. Her kindness, honesty, and empathy towards her peers doesn't go unnoticed. She is a light that shines bright, full of joy and love. It is easy to see that Beverly understands what it means to be a true friend and respect others. I am not the only person in the building who appreciates this outstanding learner. Beverly's talents and positive attitudes are noticed by all her teachers and the staff members within the Barron community. We are very proud to nominate Beverly as our Student of the Month and excited to see her bright future. Great job, Beverly.
All right. Next up from Doe Run Elementary, Thomas Barassa, grade 3, presented by Ms. Lewis.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miss Lewis. I am one of the multi-age teachers over at Doe Run, and I am here. It's a pleasure to introduce to you Tommy Barassa, as he goes by at school, Doe Run's 3rd grade learner of the month for March. Anyone that knows Tommy knows he has a sweet and quiet demeanor. But underneath his quiet demeanor, there's a determined little boy who works his tail off every day in all that he does. Let me paint a quick picture of what a school day in the life of Tommy looks like. Each and every morning, Tommy greets his classmates and his teacher with a smile and a warm hello. He's always in a good mood and his positivity spreads to others, helping all of us start our day off right. Tommy is a shining example of what it means to be kind and thoughtful. He is always willing to lend a helping hand when needed, whether it's walking my lunch down to the faculty fridge, returning something to its rightful place in our classroom, or helping a classmate with any need they may have. But Tommy goes above and beyond when it comes to just being helpful in the classroom. He is observant and he can fill a need before I even notice it. I feel like he's always in my corner, tries to make my life easier by quietly offering help or doing things himself without even being asked. He is a kid that I can always count on to be listening. And anytime I look at him, he's looking right back at me, listening and ready for the next direction. His attention to detail, his positive attitude, and his determination has helped him grow leaps and bounds academically this year. He's moved up reading levels, he's mastered many math skills, and he's gained a ton of confidence in himself as a writer. He's creative and can think outside the box to solve problems, and he's an excellent team player and does a great job working with others. But what truly sets Tommy apart is his empathy for others. In January, he was awarded the Character Trait Champion for Empathy. For an 8-year-old, Tommy has a natural ability to put himself in other people's shoes and understand their feelings, which makes him a great listener and a great friend. In the craziness of all that happens in a school day, Tommy's sweet and empathetic nature is a breath of fresh air to all those around him. Last week, I asked a couple of his classmates how they would describe Tommy, and their responses confirmed what I already knew. His friends said that he is silly, he's kind, and he likes to play with others. They said he's always in a good mood, he's never mean or rude to anybody, and quite a few of them commented on the fact that he is always listening and sets a good example for others. But one thing that every single one of them mentioned was that Tommy's willing to help whenever they need something. When I asked Tommy what he loves most about school, he said it was hard to pick just one thing. But he does like reading time and math work time where he can work at his own pace and of course, play games and help others. Over the last few years, he's loved becoming an expert on sea turtles for his marine life project, thunderstorms during our weather unit. Currently, he's loving reading some mythology in our traditional tales unit, and he's mastered many multiplication and division facts. When Tommy grows up, he wants to be a YouTuber and he'll teach others tricks of how to play video games. He likes staying active at home with his 2 brothers, and he admits he'll even help them with their chores sometimes. As you can see, Tommy is clearly a difference maker, and we are so blessed to have him at Doe Run.
right, next up from Manheim Central Middle School, Madeline Creedy, grade 6, Ms. Farmer presenting.
Kind, helpful, respectful, hardworking, encouraging. These are all words that all of Maddie's teachers have used to describe her this year. I had the privilege of having Maddie in science class in the first semester. Each day when she walked into class, she was ready to learn. We do many experiments and projects in each of our units, and Maddie was a leader within her group. Leaders not only take charge, but also listen to the ideas of others. Maddie always made sure each voice was heard and delegated tasks so that everyone could participate. When things went wrong, which we know happened often, she had a positive attitude and looked for ways to solve problems. I especially enjoyed talking with Maddie during small group discussions because she would get excited when she developed a deeper understanding of a topic. She had many light bulb moments. Mr. Soletis says Maddie is a leader in our 5th and 6th grade band program and always works to encourage others to do their best. She puts in time outside the school day to practice her skills and encourages others to do the same. She worked very hard this year to work on crossing the break on the clarinet and was selected to perform in the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association District 7 Youth Honors Band. In music class, she's a leader and works to ensure her classmates understand and is always willing to support or help out. Her projects are creative and show strong understanding of musical concepts we are exploring. Mrs. Wiederecht says Maddie is a leader in her ELA class and is always willing to go above and beyond the expectations. Whether it is helping her classmates or being a willing participant in class discussions, she is an active participant in the classroom. She is outgoing and able to lift the spirits of those around her. She encourages herself and others to excel in the classroom. In social studies, Mrs. Renix knows that she can count on Maddie no matter what. She comes prepared to learn with a positive attitude, and she always perseveres with difficult tasks. Maddie doesn't just rush through to get work done. She wants to learn and show her best effort. What she loves most about Maddie, though, is her spirit. Maddie includes everyone. During group projects, Maddie brings out the best in others. Ms. Winters says Maddie is a hard worker and is always willing to go above and beyond the expectations to push herself and to help others. She advocates for enrichment opportunities when she understands a math concept and is always up for a challenge. She is careful yet ambitious, hardworking and responsible. Maddie also embodies what it means to be a true friend. She looks out for others, shows empathy to her classmates, and volunteers regularly to help friends, often doing so without ever being asked. She is patient, kind, engaging, and supportive. I want to thank Maddie for being a great kid, and I want to thank her parents for raising such a good kid. For all these reasons, the 6th grade team is proud of Maddie and are happy to award her the recognition of School Board.
All right, and next up from the high school, Morgan Kreider, grade 12, presented by Mr. Hughes. All right.
I don't have a piece of paper. If you know me, then you're not surprised. So I'm just going to freestyle. So this is Morgan. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Morgan over the last 4 years. He's my learner of the month. The art department, Mr. Cook and I, we thought she's the one that should get it. When he came to the art show, Morgan was one of our senior superstars that kind of carried the show. This girl, this young adult, really does exemplify the qualities of what it means to be a Baron. She's an artist, she's an athlete, scholar, scholar. It's been a pleasure to get to know her. Just a quick story. So she's one of these group of kids that are really special to me that, I met him when we were freshmen and we literally were having our art show, and it was March 13th, about 2:00, and they came on and sent us all home. And then so I have this special connection with these kids that we've gone through all these different learning experiences. So one of them would be Mr. Weitzel, my principal back there in the back, who's a great guy. He was always trying to come up with ways to bring us all together as a staff and as a family. And one of the things he did was he started this pie eating contest, and her sister made the first plate for the pie eating contest, and then Morgan followed up and did the second one. So now I got nobody to do the third one next year, but hopefully someone will come along. So that's one story I got about Morgan. Like I said, if you came to the art show, the biggest pieces in the building were hers. She's taken every single art class we have. She masters everything we throw at her. I wish her the best of luck in what she's going to do next. I'm hoping she's going to be the recipient of the B. Kreiner Art Award. So yeah. So I do want to thank the administration who helped make the art show a success. And I also want to thank the board members that I saw at the art show. And I'm really gonna miss her when she leaves. So that's my speech. Yeah.
And we have one more. Mr. Weitzel is going to share. Our CTC kids are on a roll right now. So Mr. Weitzel wanted some time to share a little bit about that.
Good evening again. Dr. Axe stole my opening line about we're on a roll. So I'm just gonna have to wing it. We have had consecutive months for the first time since I can remember of students from Manhattan Central earning CTC Student of the Month. So this month we have Chase Hoke. Chase is a senior. He's at the Brownstown campus in interactive media and web design. So he was their Student of the Month for March. We want to congratulate Chase when you see him. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's have, a round of applause once again for our while we're still under this, Mr. Weitzel, helped me out here. Just came across the files at our Olympiad, or the Science Olympiad.
Correct. Yes, our Science Olympiad is fourth, so they qualified for the state tournament or the state competition in Altoona later in April.
So they will be going to our state. Congratulations again. Now, if you people would like to leave, we certainly, that's okay. We can have take pictures of you out here. I know it's a school night. Always out a lot of the chairs. Okay, next is the recognition of visitors and public comment. Again, public comments. The board encourages citizens of the district to come before the board to present their petitions, inquiries, or other communications of interest. The board invites public citizens of the district comment on any topic that is within the board's jurisdiction. As outlined in board policy 903, the board requires that public participants must be residents or taxpayers of the district. Anyone wishing to address the board during public comment will need to be in person. If you wish to speak to the board, please sign in prior to the meeting. Public participation in the meeting is the prerogative of the board president, who will establish the amount of time allowed for speaking. Out of respect for time, comments should be limited to under 3 minutes. For your convenience, we do have a timer that will be set for 3 minutes up here at the table. Personnel and or student discipline issues are inappropriate topics for public comment and should not be addressed to the Board of Education. Please make an appointment with the superintendent to discuss these issues. All right, we have one, Mr. Rank.
Jim, the bus driver, wanted to speak as well. He just got here late. Is he allowed to go or not?
He's not a
That's
resident.
fine.
Jim, I wanted you to know we did, because of the issue that you brought, we allowed you last time as a courtesy, but if you would like to set up a meeting with me, you can set that up.
Okay, perfect, thanks. So yeah, so basically, my name is Dan Rank. I appreciate the opportunity to address you. I do live at 1530 Lancaster Road in the district. Just wanted to reiterate some of the issues with the buses that we're still having along that particular route. There are police cars out there occasionally. I know a police car did stop a driver last Friday and I believe pulled them over, and I'm assuming that they were cited. But the issue obviously remains a continued concern along that particular road as well as other areas within the district, to my understanding. I know Jim had the suggestion at the last meeting about the cameras on the buses. I also wanted to offer another suggestion as a possibility for consideration, signs such as this possibly posted on the specific areas of concern within the district. I know this is something we would probably need to go through PennDOT and beyond, but obviously Lancaster Road and then Lebanon Road north of town. My understanding also is Manheim Mount Joy Road is also an issue of concern. So I know these signs, I do see them throughout the county in different areas. They also have blinking hazard lights on top as well that flash during, I guess, the mornings as well as afternoons. So it was just a suggestion I wanted to bring to the board as a possible solution for the safety concerns we have with these particular areas. And just basically wanted to ask the board to consider that as a solution for the issue that we're having. And that's all I had. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The personnel, I think we can take A through L. If I have a motion to approve A through L.
So moved.
And we have a second.
Second.
Any questions? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now, going a little bit further on number L. Dr. Axe does have some comments
Yeah, I just want to
on that.
thank the board for the support substitute recommendation for student substitutes. That's for our next step students that are finishing up their internships and are able to then phase into, they're in good standing. They're on pace to get their diplomas, and that allows them to phase into the work world through our school district. So I wanted to just say that we appreciate that for our kids. Moving into my report, a number of our board members attended the legislative breakfast a few weeks ago. The three main topics were cyber charter schools, staffing shortages, and mandates, whether they're unfunded or not. We had some superintendents that for the first time were able to have some voice in that. And I just wanted to say that we appreciate the attendance. Our attendance was really strong from our school board, and that's appreciated. And hopefully we're laying some groundwork for some changes in the future. So we'll just keep on trying, but I think showing up is the first step. So that's much appreciated. Another thing I want to just commend the board on. Yeah, I want to commend the board on the Stiegel building. The sale of the Stiegel building is wrapping up, and we are donating the playground equipment to the borough. They're going to extract it and use it somewhere in the Manheim community for our kids. So it was a great idea, and I know the borough is appreciative, and I know ultimately the kids will be appreciative as well. Also, the buyer and their willingness to allow us to have that extracted by the borough is appreciated. We're on a roll with some of our students. This is all hot off the presses, just came in today. Calissa McAdams, I wanted to recognize. She scored on the 96th percentile in the level 3 national German exam, which makes her, she qualified to be one of the students selected, and she's one of the 48 students selected for an all expense paid trip to Germany. So that's unbelievable. So we wanted to recognize that publicly. I did write her a note that we expect her to come after her visit to Germany and share with us all about it. Another one from Ava Graf, placed in the All-State Chorus, Alto 1. Is that how you say that? Alto 1, Dr. Flannery. 4th overall in the state. And lastly, hot off the presses, Katie Wolf, 1st in the entire state on the EB or EB clarinet.
Flat clarinet.
E flat clarinet. Okay, so we're accomplishing all over the place, whether it's language, music, other academics, athletics, and it's just awesome that this stuff's coming in the day of the board meeting. So it's like I said, hot off the presses, so we get to share all of that. And we'll be following up with these students in the future because these are major accomplishments across the state. So I just wanted to make sure to share all of those before we get into the student reports.
That is neat.
So thank you. And Kate, you're up.
Yep, you get a second solo show in a row because my partner today has an unexpected doctor's appointment that she had to attend. So you guys are so lucky. You get me alone. No, 2 months. Also, I greatly appreciate you two stealing like half of my report.
I'm sorry.
High school. Come on. What am I supposed to talk about now? So starting off with the high school report. This weekend, the Mannheim Central Science Olympiad did go to regionals, which was held at Millersville University, and they medaled in 6 events, which is really impressive for a school of our size. All of the other teams that medaled that much are very large schools or charter schools. And so that's really crazy. And they took home 4th place overall, meaning that they are going to be the 6 teams that go to states representing our region. Our students will be going from April 21st to the 23rd to get to Altoona because it's a very long drive and we aren't allowed to wake up at 1 a.m. to drive there. Additionally, we held our annual Mannheim Central Art Show where we had a great turnout and we were able to display a lot of great art created from kindergartners all the way to our 12th graders. And additionally, some of the clubs that did some things was FFA. They had National FFA, so they did a fun spirit week for that. Barron Stage put on 4 amazing performances of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And the language department took a group of students on a trip to New York. But just overall, this past month, we've had a lot of really great things happening in all of our art departments. And it's just been really cool to get to go to a lot of those and see all of the crazy things that some of the students are putting together and doing. Moving to our middle school, March has been marvelous at Mannheim Central Middle School. On March 9th and 5th, our 5th and 6th grade student council organized a paint night where families came in and painted rocks in their garden or donate to the middle school future pollinator. Our 5th graders took a trip to BizTown where they got to put their career skills to the test as they worked BizTown's mock town. They held jobs such as postal workers, DJs, working in stores, and even being the mayor, which they had to run for election. It was fun getting to see all their posters. Everyone had a wonderful time, and we had many parent volunteers help run the day smoothly. We ended the month with another well-attended Barron breakfast where Dr. Axe was the keynote speaker. They are looking forward to all the fun that April brings. Going to our first elementary school dough run, our learners all gathered for the Brass Beats Assembly on March 13th. During this assembly, we had the opportunity to hear the sound of great musicians as they played and taught us about their instruments. The assembly was fun for all and provided by the music in our school's program. Our 1st and 2nd graders attended Rapunzel at the Fulton Theater on March 24th. It was a memorable experience for all these learners. To our final school, Barron Elementary, they had a wonderful turnout for the family reading and STEM night at Barron Elementary, March 16th. Learners participated in reading games and STEM challenges along with hearing wonderful stories from our guest readers. A huge thank you to our reading team, Pam, Jolie, Jen Riddle, Barb Rule, and Maddie Hallman. Lauren Cow, I apologize, that's definitely not a surname. Sarah Gashu and Sarah Gashu for their work putting the event together. Special thanks to the high school Interact Club for helping them run so many of the stations. Barron Elementary is also excited to hold our first ever musical, The Aristocats, on March 30th and 31st. The kids have done a tremendous job preparing for the event. Thank you, Allison Brackbell, Jamie Keenan, and Josh Whitney for their efforts leading the program. Thank you so much for listening to me babble at you all, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your month. And there's some exciting stuff coming for next month, I'll tell you that much.
All right, we'll be quiet until after you talk, all right?
You have to just tell me what you're gonna say, and then I'll.
Yeah. Seriously, I had to like cut half of my spiel.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, of course. Wonderful to be here as always. So then I guess I shall see you next month, most likely, unless something crazy happens.
Thank you.
Or
All right, Mr. Howard, budget update.
I'm going to try to bring as much energy to the budget update as we did to the student update, but somehow I think I'll fall short. The first thing here is the IU budget overview. And for those that know or don't remember, there's two portions to this budget that they're asking us to approve. One is the general operating budget. It's the core program of service, and that provides the IU 13 with organizational leadership, board and community relations, curriculum and instructional services, and school improvement services, professional development, administrative services. There is no assessment to local school districts. That core program of services budget increased 3.92% or $77,541. The total budget there is just over 2,256,706. So that's that part. The second part is the instructional media services. That provides services like media services, software, BrainPop, research databases, StarLab, ProQuest, all kinds of educational media services and software for us. We pay, for this year, we will pay $31,151.09, which is only a $500 increase from last year. That budget only increased by 0.28% or $3,593. So we survived that one with only a $500 increase. Those are valuable services that they provide and we make use of. So are there any questions regarding those budget documents that are in there? Okay, that approval will be on the, I think it's the first general action item. Down to the good stuff. Okay, so this kind of March is when I like to go through the revenue items. So about now I have most of the revenue items locked down. The only thing we're really waiting on is the state budget, which I think it started off strong, but there are some differences of opinion amongst both sides. So we'll see how that ends up. Just to start in with projections, as starting now and going through the end of the year, I'll bring projections each budget presentation. And you can see last year at this time, we were at total expenditures of just over 32 million. This current year, same time period, 33,922,000. We had some additional revenue for some PlanCon that came in. Was some stuff that we applied for that didn't initially get approved. It all got approved, and it should be in our bank account at this point. So that was additional revenue I was able to add, and the expenses creeped up a little bit. So we're at just under $350,000 surplus is what the current forecast is. Again, as we get March's numbers in there and April's numbers, that gets more and more accurate. And if we look to last month at the end of January, we were forecasting 237,000 surplus. So that number's moving in the right direction this month. At the end of March is when we really get a good look at expenditures to start to forecast and propose next year's budget on some of the larger expenditure items. Fund balance analysis here. If I put in the projected numbers, again, we're projecting a 348,466 surplus for the end of 22-23. Right now, with just some of the early expenditure numbers in and some other numbers that we don't know, like insurances and some other things, currently forecasting a $1.358 million deficit for 23-24. So looking at overall revenue for this coming year, we're looking at local sources of 69%, federal sources of 2%, and state sources of 29%. And I'll go into a little bit of detail on each of those. So local revenue, obviously the lion's share of that is the current real estate and actually real estate tax in general, interim real estate taxes, delinquent real estate taxes. So those are the large items in that. The second largest number there is the earned income taxes. So when we're projecting out this year, got a pretty good feel on those numbers and where they're going to come in. Where there's some opportunities here are these arrowed numbers. Interims, that's based on new properties that come onto the tax roll in the middle of the year. They get a prorated tax bill for the year. Earned income taxes, that can go either way. A lot of times at the end of the year, we get a big surprise there. I don't know how that's going to go. We don't have a good feel of that yet, but that could climb another $150,000 or $200,000, and that'll help us with next year's budget figure as well when we get some of those final numbers in. Transfer taxes are when properties are bought, sold. We get a portion of the 1% transfer tax that is paid. Delinquent real estate tax, that's when people don't pay their real estate taxes, we turn them over to the county. They try to collect them. When they do collect them, there's a fee that's assessed and interest penalties as well. And then interest and dividends, that's an opportunity now. Those numbers with the rising interest rates, we're finally seeing interest revenue that we haven't seen. If you remember that item, it was under $50,000 for some of the barriers there. So we're looking at, approaching maybe 900,000 to $1 million of interest. So we'll have to see how that number moves up, and we'll try to maybe get a better feel for some projections on there as well.
Brian, real quick, going back to the delinquent taxes.
Yes, sir.
Are we projecting that any projections on what that's going to potentially look like next year for an increase based on where everything's sort of at right now?
Surprisingly, it's been steady. Now we'll see next year as things crunch in a little bit economically. We'll see where that goes. We haven't seen it. We track that. And if you'll see, I'll show you, but when we move forward into the real estate millage rate calculation, you'll see where we factor in 96% as our collection rate. So we expect, what that means is we expect to turn 4% of our taxes that we billed over to the county for collection. So that's a little bit lower than we're probably doing this year. We're probably doing 96, 2, 96 and a half. But I did downgrade it just a little bit moving forward. And that big number here in 21, 22 was Amazon coming in. Some of those properties had years of taxes owed on them, the warehouses that got purchased. And so we got some big checks of back taxes. So that 1.126 is a little bit of a blip on that. It's probably a one-time thing. We're going to probably stay in the 650 to 750 range on delinquencies. And then we get federal IDEA, and that comes through the IU 13. And that's the other big chunk there. So current year real estate tax calculation, and I like to put this in there because sometimes say, well, how are taxes calculated? A lot of people don't realize that. So it's the assessed value we get from the county times the millage rate divided by 1,000. And that gets our gross real estate taxes. Then there's the homestead farmstead for the taxpayer relief that comes from the state. And that gets taken away, and that's the total taxes that we bill property owners in the district. And then times the 96% collection rate yields our net estimated real estate taxes. Now, I will say, I did all the calculations in this budget presentation at the 4.1 index. That does not mean that that's where the taxes are going to end. That just is where the calculations are made for the purposes here. Obviously, the board has May and June to make a decision regarding the tax millage rate and the increase to that, or no increase at all. So all those numbers are just for discussion purposes tonight. Down here is kind of the hit of the amount we get at various tax increases, starting from 0 down to 4.10. And you'll notice there that there's additional revenue of 264,153 with no millage increase. And you're probably saying, Brian, what's happening there? That's the assessed value that's increased year over year, that without even touching the millage rate generates a little bit of revenue because it's an increase to the assessed value. I put here a 1% millage increase is approximately $368,714. It'll jump up a little bit as we go down there based on the calculation, but it's roughly that number. So assessed value, I talk about this most times we present the budget. And you can see the trend line there. And it's kind of funny because those trend lines you put in for the graph, that's where I'm forecasting we're gonna end the year. And I base that under the numbers I got from the county just last week versus that same period of time, previous years, and where we ended up with our tax rolls. And so if I look at the percentages and the average percentages over the last 4 to 5 years, it looks like, we're close to 99.5% in there. Right now, we're at 0.34%. We're forecasting 0.721% by June 30th tax bill time. So this was something Amy Kiefer and I attended the PA School Business Officials conference last week, and the Independent Fiscal Office, who's kind of the economists that talk about everything state taxes, school taxes. They project all the earnings, the inflation rates for Pennsylvania, and they kind of break down all the economic data. If you're into that kind of stuff, they have a website. They do releases every week about state revenue items and other things. Some of it's good reading, some of it's sleeper time. But if you look here, this is the base index, and a lot of people don't know where the Act 1 index comes from. And so I wanted you to understand a little bit where that comes from. It's the average between the statewide average weekly wage and the employment cost index for elementary and secondary school teachers. And so the employment cost index is the percentage of growth in the cost of labor cost, essentially for K through 12 school districts throughout the state. And it's actually calculated on a countrywide basis as well. So that amount, so the employer cost plus the earnings that are reported statewide weekly get averaged, the growth in that year over year get averaged together, and that's where they get the base index. So it's a function of what employers are actually paying and what people are earning, and that's how they come up with the Act 1 index for tax increases. I guess the thought process is it's an average between earnings and costs, and that should generate what would be the high point of a tax increase. There was a plethora of other information they showed us. one of the things that will have an impact on our budget, and I don't want to get too off topic, is the workforce is shrinking in Pennsylvania. And so demographically, we have less people between 16 and 65 that are eligible to work. And that's going to eventually squeeze wages, and also for Nikki trying to go out there and recruit and hire, it's going to get a little bit tougher with the shrinking workforce. So that was interesting information. So the other thing I wanted to point out is the impact of this board's millage rate, or what's called board authority. So if we talk about a 3% increase to millage rate or a 4.1% increase to millage rate, some people might think, well, that's going to increase the budgeted revenues by 4.1%, but that isn't really the case, because real estate taxes are less than 60% of our total revenue. They're a large part of our revenue, the largest piece. But so if you take X percent of a percent, it's not actually a total of 4.1. So I went back and looked from 2021 through 23, 24. And again, I'm careful to put discussion only there, that this is done in index, but only for discussion purposes and presentation tonight. And if you look there, that 4.1% only generates 2.43% of our total of a total revenue increase as that goes. And of course, 2021 was a zero tax year back then, so there was no millage decision impact. And you can see that 4.1 generates 1.8 to 2.43%. So I just wanted to point that out, because maybe the automatic assumption is if the millage rate is going up 4%, that means we have 4% more revenue, and that isn't always the case. So as we look at state revenue, the largest item is the basic education funding, and that's based on a formula. And so there's basically three types of state revenues. There's what I'll call formula-based funding, and that's basic education and special education. You have reimbursements, which is a reimbursement for the state share of Medicare and for PESers and transportation, and then you just have subsidies. So one of the things, if you look at the basic ed, it's a 6% increase. Now, I'll go into the formula there, and that's not a wild guess, but it's kind of a guess of where things will settle. It's not as high as the governor's proposal, but it's not as low as no increase as well. It's kind of in the middle, trying to be safe. As we get more information about how those budget talks are going, we'll be able to maybe dial that up or down depending on how it's going. State share of Social Security, that's just based on how much, if our salaries go up, we pay the 7.65% Social Security Medicare. We get half of that back from the state. Special education is a formula. And then the rental and sinking fund, which is kind of a weird name, that's that plan con we get back for our construction projects. Now, we have one more year of the middle school. Our last payment for the middle school is next fiscal year. And then Doe Run and Barron are both plan con projects. The plan con program is in moratorium, and they haven't taken new buildings for several years now. So the high school project is not a plan con project, and actually any new construction projects at schools you see right now are not plan con projects. So we won't be getting reimbursement for the high school project, but we are for Barron and Doe Run. So I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to spare everybody, but this is kind of an analysis, and I have a chart to show this. Basically, the basic education, the special education, they devised a formula back in the mid-teens to basically, it takes a number of factors into, and it's like an average daily membership, and I'll show you that a little bit, compared to the state's total average daily membership, and you get a proration of the amount that's available that the government approves each year for basic education funding. And right there is the governor's proposal for total basic education, which is a little over 9 million. I don't think we're going to get that. I hope we do. but it usually doesn't end up there. Normally, the initial proposal gets pared down a little bit, and there's compromise and there's discussion. And usually it ends somewhere south of that number. For special education, it's 1.898. And there you can see there's a base, basic ed and a base special ed. When they put these formulas in place, they had what was called a hold harmless, where no school would get any less than what they got in the base year. And so each year, we're guaranteed under current legislation to get that 6.491 million in basic ed, plus whatever is determined by student weighting, the formula. And then for special ed, the base special ed is 1.512 million. And then the student weighted distribution goes on top of that. As the government puts new money into that pot of dollars that goes to schools, that new money all gets distributed by the formula. And then you've also heard talk of people saying, hey, what happens if the state took everything and put it into the formula basket? How would we do? Would we be better off or would we be worse off? And you can see on the basic ed side, we're gaining share of that total state. Our basket versus what's going out of the total state is growing. And on the special ed side, it's pretty much just staying flat the whole way down through. So here's actually the formula that some super brainiacs figured out about how it would work. And it basically takes our average daily membership, which is an attendance, average daily membership of students. And we have a base one. And then there's some poverty weights added, English language learners weight, charter weight. And then there's some things, students, school specific factors that are added to that to come to a total adjusted ADMs. And that gets compared to the total ADMs in the state. And that percentage is what we get times the total dollars that are available. The reason our share is growing, and you can see there, when the first formula came out, it was 0.0882%. That was our share. This year, we're projected to get 0.1273% of that pot of money. And that's basically when we first started, our base share is 0.1171. So the good news is that if they do take that entire pot of money and distribute it by the formula, the last 3 years, we would have been okay. We would have actually gotten more money than what we're getting now under the current base plus formula weighted. So where's that coming from? Why is our share growing when you would say our enrollment's not really growing as fast? It's coming from the poverty weight, and they put a weight to each student. And so for someone living in severe poverty, it's a 0.6 weighting. So you take, if you had 100 students in severe acute, what they call acute poverty, you multiply that by the 0.6 weighting, you get 60 added on to your initial ADM total. And for basic poverty or moderate poverty, it's 0.3. So for every 100, you get 30 adjusted to your number. And so you can see here, we've grown from 15, 16, 192. We're at 300.46. And again, if the whole state is growing at that rate, then our percentage wouldn't change, but we're obviously growing at a faster rate on that than the state overall is average. And the special ed is this kind of mess. And that takes 3 different categories. So, and it's based on the expenditures that you have to make. And they have 3 expenditure categories that we report each year on an Act 16 report to the state. And that report is extremely important because each student we report on that, we get money for. And so it's very important that we get those numbers right. And we spend a lot of time making sure those numbers are correct. And then it gets multiplied by the same type of factors. And then eventually it comes down to equalized mills and the market value personal income aid ratio. Equalized mills is just total taxes, total real estate taxes for the district divided by the total market value. Special ed subsidy is different. When we first started, we had a 0.16% share of the base, and now our share is 0.1. So if they went to the total 100% to the formula, we would lose some special ed funding under that basis. Now, they talk about going 100% to the formula every year, and it never happens. So I don't expect that that's going to be something we're going to deal with, even though it's something that's always probably on your radars and your legislative updates that you get. The reality of that happening is probably pretty slim. Federal revenue, that's declining only because the ESSER money is running out. So in 21-22, that was kind of the heart of the ESSER funding that we got. And then 22-23, we had a lot as well. We're proposing 1.673 just because as we go year over year, the money's running out and we're using it all. So eventually that will all go away and we'll just have our title funds up there and then our SBAP down here. So in 24-25, there'll be maybe 100,000 or 200,000 of ESSER funds, and then the rest, and then it'll be gone unless they come with new funding sources. Here's our kind of our 2 years back and our 5 years forward. And here you can see our projection of 348,464. This is all done at the base index rates that I showed you earlier that the IFO was projecting. So obviously we can mess with those numbers. We get the budget workshops, we can change those numbers lower, higher, well, not higher, but lower, and kind of see where that puts us out in future years. And again, we were projecting to go red for a couple of years because of the new debt from the high school. And so then it comes back green. This is a base index. If I change those numbers a little bit, it changes slightly. Here's the impact on it if I change those numbers. So you can see if we do 0, we don't turn green in 26-27, we stay red. If we do the 4.1 base index, we're very green. If we do the 3, we're just a little green. And then at 2, we're basically break even. Out in 26-27. Obviously, the immediate year is impacted more directly by your decision in this year. So next steps, I know it was a lot of information. Next steps, we're continuing to work with administrators on their budgets. We got most of the buildings done. We've got some of the bigger programs. We've met and talked to them. Now it's kind of smaller things like the business department, HR, superintendent board budget, those types of things, safety and security budgets. So not less important, just smaller in nature compared to some of the other budget items. Monitor the state budget talks, see where they're going. I think they're closer together this year than they have been in the past. It seems like the governor put out some things that he had some projects and some plans for. And it seems like the Republicans, the House Republicans and the Senate seem to agree with a lot of the things that he's trying to fund and take care of. It's just a matter of whether they can agree on how much to put towards them. Finalizing a projected labor budget and staffing changes. I know we're working with our staffing plan for next year. That's not finalized. When that does, we'll plug those numbers in the budget. And then March projections will serve as our real baseline for the major expenses moving forward. So any questions? Okay.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Howard. And then we had our first reading of policy 336 and 327.1 for all of you. And then on to Dr. Flannery.
Just a brief update from this evening. We're excited to announce that Community Service Group has extended us an opportunity to continue our partnership with them in maintaining our homeless outreach specialist. So this is a position we've had since last year that's fully funded through a grant from CSG. So it comes at no cost to the district. And this position works with many of our families who experience housing instability, specifically to find them secure, affordable housing. So it's a real benefit to our families. The person in that position, her name is Marsha Anderson, and she's been wonderful to work with, and we're excited to have her back for next year. And that's the contract that you see on the agenda in general items for approval this evening. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Under Treasurer's Report, Mr. McGeehan not here. I will, he asked me to go over on A, B, C, and D. These were all in your packets. And I'm assuming if you had any questions on it, you would have already had asked. So I'm going to ask for making a motion for we approve 10A through D. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Approved. Thank you. All right, we're going to go board committee reports. Mr. Linder, business ops.
We have not had a meeting recently, and our next meeting is to be determined.
Okay, thank you. Academic committee, Dr. Frick.
Next meeting is May 1st and here at the Marion Central District Office at 5.
Okay, at this time, we know Dr. Frick's not going to be here for any more academic committee reports. I'd like to, unless there's any objection from anybody, I would like to have Jen Walker moved into the chairman of the academic committee. Any problems?
Nope.
It's Jen? Okay. The activities committee, Mr. Sensnick.
Nothing to report except the next meeting is next Monday, April 3rd, 5 p.m. Room here.
Okay, very good. The general action all have been discussed tonight. I'd like the motion from A through Q. Have a motion.
Second.
Move in second. Any questions?
I have a random question. The charter school resolution is just that we're getting on board with everybody else and whatever happens next,
Correct.
but there's no action.
There's no action. We're just asking them, we're asking for review and consideration.
Is there anything like tied to us being part of that? I mean, I tried to read through the description, but it doesn't sound like.
It's more, it's kind of like you alluded to, kind of getting on board
Yeah.
with 90% of the public schools in the state of Pennsylvania. And now I think there's only one school in Lancaster County after tonight, if we approve, that's not. So it's getting on board, encouraging.
Essentially like a petition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Symbolic.
Right. And just for review.
Yeah, I was just trying to read through it and it didn't sound like there was like an action happening.
And right, we're not asking for an action directly to our district. We're just encouraging action.
In general, yeah, okay.
Any other? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, now we have the acceptance of the letter of resignation from our school board director, Dr. Ed Frick. Dr. Frick, would you, first of all, I guess I could ask for a motion to accept Dr. Frick's resignation.
I'll make a motion.
Second? Second. All in favor with regret? Aye. All right, Dr. Frick, you want to come up here? Dr. Axe.
We just have a certificate of appreciation for Dr. Frick. Those of you who didn't get to know him, I've had a great year getting to know him and what he, where his heart is for kids and education. And it's just greatly appreciated. So we wanted to recognize that.
And Dr. Frick is also off and on for my term that I've been on the school board. And I also hate to see him leave. I know he's going to something that he's always wanted to do, but we are going to miss you, Dr. Fritz.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care. If anybody would like to make any comment or.
I would just like to say thanks. Thank you. It's been a pleasure serving with you. You'll be missed twice that. It's what we said left.
Echo that. We're gonna miss you a lot. Good luck. Thank you. It's been a pleasure getting to know you over the last few years.
I'm gonna wish you a lot of luck down there in Oklahoma. Anybody else have any other comments?
Well, I'd like to thank you too. I knew him for many years. So back when I was going through cancer, his family and his kids, when they were a lot younger, came and supported me. At a fundraiser that someone put together for me to bless me with. And
Yeah.
he's a precious family.
Yeah, they are a great family, you have great kids.
I just want to thank all of you. It's been a great tenure here with all of you. And as I indicated in my email to everybody, it was, it's been wonderful and challenging. And so that comes with the territory. And so, but I know the district is in good hands from a leadership perspective. All of you will be helping guide decision-making. And so, and I'm just very thankful that we all work together to get the leadership that we have here currently and at the building level, at the central office. I mean, I would be the first to say that it's one of the best leadership teams I've ever worked with in 30 years that I've been in education. And so it's just great to it's not great to exit this way, but it's great to be leaving when the district's in such a good position. So, and my hope is that whoever you select to replace is going to bring as much to energy to the decision making, and I'm sure they will. So, but my thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
And just as the segue there, just so everyone knows, the vacated spot will be open for 10 days. And then the next board meeting, toward the end of that board meeting, we'll have the public interview process. So that's again open to the public. The board will make a determination on that evening, and then we'll onboard that board member moving forward right after that. So just so everyone in the public knows, that's the process. We'll have more information out on that in the very near future. So thanks again, Ed.
Board representative reports, the IU, Mrs. Walker.
Hey. I printed it out this time, so I didn't have to fumble through my email, but there wasn't much, nothing much to report, just a normal board meeting with where we went through the different committees. The one thing of note was that we did approve the reappointment of their school safety and security coordinator for the whole IU 13, which was a really welcome position, as I'm sure you can understand. And then the other thing of note was the bazaar, the student bazaar that I mentioned last month took place, and it was just a wonderful opportunity. And I actually got some of the students made each of the representatives a magnet. So they made me like a MC magnet with our emblem on it, and each of the schools had their own emblem. And it was just really neat to see that they made one of those for each of us. So, but other than that, just a normal meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. The CTC report.
We can have enough on the screen. I was highlighting enjoy the culinary department, and I went over for a high tea. We'll get it up there. They call it high tea, where they serve
serve food, just, it's not every day or anything like that, but they, they earn money with it. It was interesting. It was interesting watching the culinary learn, not only the cooks, cooking the pastries, but the serving. And they're teaching them to serve. And that one there, that's a, knife, fork and spoon up there that the welding department put up right up front of their door there. I thought that was interesting. So that's made out of steel. This is just part of the high tea dinner they serve you. There's quiche and all kind of stuff. And it's very good. They do a great job on a lot of desserts. Their pastries are absolutely nice. And that right there, that's Jessica Sick. She's from Manheim Central, and she does the pastry department. And right behind us there is a ton of pastries. You could buy them. And I did try quite a few of them. That's just inside, that's, in her area where they were doing the pastries, the food. And that's actually a high tea little sandwiches, desserts and all stuff, all kind of scones on the top that they serve for this high tea, which they, sometimes they'll bring a busload of people in for this high tea, so it's a big, but it's really neat watching what they're learning there to do. That's just some more pictures of in the kitchen. More of them there, all the equipment they have there, it's amazing. And on the left, that's Marcello. Marcello, how do you say his name? Aleno. He's one of the students, and Evan Ingold on the right of me there. So there's a couple from Manheim Central students. And that one is, she wasn't there, that's Jaslyn Whitmore. She wasn't there, but that's her. There's 4 of them from Manheim Central in that culinary department. And this is what Josh said, the student of the month. I got to meet him, Chase Hoke. I was down at our CTC board meeting. And one thing that he does do, Josh said he's in the media and web design, but he can do a Rubik's Cube in under 40 seconds. And so we said, well, we got to see it, right? And he was under a little pressure. He did it under a minute, but that's still pretty amazing. That's what I have there. And listening to the board, or listening to Brian about the shortage of workers. And I've looked in if you looked in the paper this week, it had in the money section, where the 10 jobs that are needed, 10 highest jobs, are not college. You don't need a college degree. Here I am in the school board, not pushing college. I'm pushing, the technical end of it, the career of it. And it's really, it's really needed out there. I think they have like 140 going co-op just at Mount Joy out working already, most of them get full jobs. It's very interesting. And kind of on a, I call it a sad note, but I tried to do something about it. But down at Willow Street, they have a nursing program. I think it's CN, whatever it is, and it's a certified nursing. They had to close down that class. They're teaching something else, but it's not a certification. That certification that they get there is needed to work in a home. And we have, I don't know how many, 130 homes in Lancaster County, and they're having to shut down beds because they don't have enough workers. The only reason they had to shut it down, they can't get a certified nurse to help teach. So if you know anybody, that would be, that's a big thing. They're missing 50 kids that were supposed to be going out into our public and working. It's gonna hurting the homes a lot. So they're working on it. That's just a shortage of nurses, but and there's the pay. You can't pay what the New Hershey Hospital pays, and you have to have somebody that's interested in the kids and to do that. So other than that, there's just a lot going on. I would just like to suggest to the board that if there's anything we can do next year, beginning of the year, to help promote the CTC programs. Well, they're so good. They're amazing what they do. And I would love to see somehow let's get like a big auditorium full and support this. Because you can see the jobs are kind of switching from technical, from college down to regular. We need workers, we need plumbers, we need it. But anyway, that's enough of that. But next month I'll be trying to do the manufacturing end. So we'll see how that goes, but thank you.
All right, thank you. Lancaster County, the PSBA legislative report. I'm sure Mr. McGee will tell all of us the same as we know is just look at your emails. You never know what might be coming through. Lancaster County Academy. We did pick up Calico, as I said last month. They are picking 3 spots up for next year. We have not yet voted on it, but I will tell you now that for the last 4 or 5 years, we averaged between 4 and 4.5% increase, which amounted to maybe less than $100. We are proposing a 0% for next year. So the budget for Lancaster County Academy to the schools will see no increase. That ends my report. Everybody has seen the enrollment report. The next regularly scheduled meeting, the April 24th at 7 o'clock, regular board meeting. What time we will be here, but that'll be the time that we will interview any candidates.
Yeah, we'll start at our regular 7 o'clock, and we'll, depending on the amount of candidates, that'll be at the end.
Okay. All right. Board comments. This past weekend, they revitalized the art show at the farm show building. And it was from kindergarten up to the seniors. And we were there Friday, and I'm estimating that there might have been 500 people that walked in, maybe more. Unbelievable, just totally unbelievable what all the kids from elementary on up and what they've done. How many were able to make it to see it? And it was, we're hoping that it will continue, which I'm sure it will. And that's basically all I have. And now we have any other board comments? Amy?
I just Ed, for all of your years of service and all that you've put into Manheim Central. Thank you to administration and everyone, all the activities that are going on, the art show, the field trips. My son went to Rapunzel that they mentioned, and he cannot stop talking about it because some of these kids never get a chance. I'm not taking my kid to the Fulton. He can't sit still, but he sat and watched that whole show. So it was really cool. Football, just all the fun spring things. And I'm just so thankful that we're getting back into a space where we can go on field trips and go to the art show and things like that. So thank you to everyone who's making this all possible.
Jen, when you've said about flag football, 400 kids are playing flag football Sundays.
And we were not expecting sun, so like sunburn, like right here. All the kids were probably tired today because I had to drag them out of bed, but it's just an amazing community, and you just feel it. You can feel, I love spring, and you can really feel it right now, so.
And I think, sorry, I just want to piggyback off of that. Like, I really feel like that's the answer to that whole charter school thing. Like, let's bring the kids back. Like,
Absolutely.
I personally had comments with conversations with charter school parents and homeschool parents and saying, come back. There's so many opportunities here. And I still firmly believe in public education.
Well said, Andy.
We got
I just wanted to thank Brian and Amy for going through the numbers. That's a lot of work. I know it's we can do. I appreciate it.
I got a chance to see the high school play and I thought that was pretty awesome. They did a good job. And the orchestra and everybody, it was great. They did a great job.
Yeah, it is, it's absolutely amazing. I wish we could fill the auditorium up with our charter school or whatever. And that leaves them to hear about all the good things that are happening. And there's nothing like it. And when the high school is renovated, we'll have the nicest complex anywhere in the county. Dr. Flannery, Ryan, do you have anything?
I also went to the show in the high school. I thought that was
Great.
great. Yeah, Hunchback of Notre Dame was awesome.
One of my employees was in it and he's like a wrestler and he's like, yeah, I got a pretty important part. And we're like, he didn't say much for the beginning. I'm like, oh. And then he was singing and
He had a
killing
great
it. Yeah,
voice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second. All in favor? Thank you very much.